Welcome to this 3PL Summit. I'm Thomas Watson. I have an exciting fireside chat today. This is going to be one about talking about your inbox and how not only if you're a broker, you understand your inbox and you're a little crazy, but there's a lot of technology, especially the use cases of AI, to help not only wrangle that, but make it for, using it for growth instead of just having to react to it. I can remember personally my blood pressure rising because of a multitude of emails. And so technology is up to the challenge. We're talking with the folks at Front. They have a solution here. And let's welcome on Craig Klemp. He's the VP of Partnerships and Business Development at Front. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what they've been working on and how you can put AI to work for you. Craig, pleasure to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Thomas, great to meet you. As you mentioned, I lead partnerships at Front. Just quick intro to me. I have a background in software partnerships, specifically in customer communications technology. I joined Front about 3 years ago as the company was really starting to expand its footprint in the supply chain and logistics industry. But interestingly, Front has actually been around for over a decade, solving communication challenges for a number of different companies, industries. We did find, though, that our offering is really uniquely situated to help 3PLs. And so at its core, Front is an AI-powered communication platform for 3PLs and brokers. We bring all your communication channels, whether it's, certainly email, but phone, SMS, chat, all into one solution, powered up with AI and automation to increase the efficiency of brokers and improve the service quality of the organization.
Let's talk about the current state of things because it can be a little bit wild. I came from a brokerage one time and they had a giant distro that was literally getting hundreds of messages an hour. What's the current state for folks who are unfamiliar with that workflow?
Yeah, I know you hit the nail on the head, and you got the specific personal experience, which is great, kind of brings it to life. But really the core is, 3PLs, intermediaries are drowning in their inboxes. Agents and brokers get slammed with thousands of messages every day. Inevitably, these messages are slipping through the cracks, and that can be dropped quotes, duplicate responses, and ultimately lost revenue. And so it really is that same story even today that you mentioned. Most of these companies are just using individual Outlook or Gmail. They may have different distributions groups for those where everyone is copied on the same message. I know you mentioned kind of having that experience walking into your brokerage. On top of that, we see that agents are constantly having to switch between, their email, they're getting texts from clients, et cetera. So really there's three kind of core challenges that brings up. The first is there's no clear ownership. I mean, we've talked about this. You see people either dropping messages or maybe sending duplicate replies. They might be replying slower. Ultimately creates a worse experience for your shippers and carriers. The second piece is there's really no visibility or measurement. The phrase, you can't really manage what you can't measure. It's difficult to performance manage when you don't have data into things like reply times, understanding how quickly your team's responding, how accurately, and improving then business performance. And then the third piece is we see in the freight industry oftentimes different systems are operating in silos. So brokers we see spend about half their day in their email inbox, but that's not talking to the other systems that they're using, systems of record, things like a TMS. And this becomes a big source of inefficiency. So we actually think there's a huge opportunity to evolve 3PLs, the communications they're offering, especially with all the advancements in AI and automation. We think that can increase efficiency. We also see service quality improvements and deliver better experience to shippers and carriers. And ultimately, this all results in fewer quotes and lost revenue if you don't address those challenges.
And let's talk about how these things work, because that was one of my big challenges, and I think a lot of folks is how do you tell when you're swamped what's important, what's not, and things slip through the crack. What are some of the ways that the technology is working, and what does it kind of look like for folks who are as you're looking to change it up from the traditional I have to read every single thing to now having almost like a personal assistant tell me what I need?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting way to frame it. They definitely not alone in kind of highlighting some of these challenges. I think the state of email has been the status quo since I entered the workforce over 20 years ago, and we're starting to see AI and automation really shake things up. So right now, what we see is agents spend so much time on manual tasks that, they're categorizing messages, they're moving things into different boxes, they're spending time getting them to the right person, switching between multiple tools, and vetting carriers to figure out if they can work with them. Really, we think it's about freeing up those agents to focus on the highest impact revenue generating tasks. So how do we automate the routine manual processes so that they can focus on building stronger customer relationships, covering more loads, being proactive with their key clients, and really understanding, am I doing my job well? Not am I just doing a list of tasks that I feel like I have to do to get through the day? So really for us, it's not just about streamlining those manual processes, but also giving agents superpowers by providing them with data and context to make faster decisions. We actually see this, we talked about the challenge around lack of integrations. That's a big focus for Front, connecting to the inbox to the TMS, whether it's a McLeod, a Tide TMS, many others in the system, in the ecosystem, I should say, to automatically sync data and quotes. So you're not switching between those apps, manually inputting data. It's about integrating with carrier identity platforms like Highway, My Carrier Packets, where in the inbox with the right integration, we can automatically, through those solutions, detect potential fraud, isolate it, quarantine it for the fraud team to handle so that those agents, those brokers aren't responding to fraudulent inquiries. And then even pulling in rates automatically. There's great solutions like Green Screens, others, where you can create quotes with a click of a button. It's informed by your rating data, your historical, or I should say the industry's rating data, and your historical win-loss data. Imagine doing that, consolidating, instead of having 20 different tabs open, consolidating that in the inbox, creating efficiency, and ultimately improving quality.
And it reminds me of an operations manager. I had a really good mentor talking about one of the challenges is you need to figure out how fast things get done. And in the manual process, you really can't tell how long it takes. Like creating the order, you receive from the time the email was received to the time that an order shows up in a TMS. It's really difficult. So with the AI and machine learning and stuff, now there's a better way to quantify not only at the individual level, but at the team level. And you can kind of find where some of these bottlenecks are, because that was a big issue for me, is when you're getting your butt kicked sometimes, you have to switch between, here's a batch of orders, here's some quotes, here's some tracking updates, and you don't always know if the person you're working on, who's your assistant and stuff, or your team, is actually working on the right thing.
Yeah, I think team leads see the biggest advantage, right? Because they see the challenges at scale, and if they can make those more efficient and have that accountability, it makes them a lot easier it makes it easier for them to be able to manage the team. Yeah, like there's actually kind of a few ways where we see kind of overall team performance improvements. The first is just bringing all those communication channels into one place. You're not wasting time switching between email and Slack and phone and texting. It's all right there. And then you're able to categorize those messages, assign them to the right owner to take action. So that gives, again, confidence for the team leader. That's some single point of ownership, single point of potential failure, but that way they're able to address any challenges. And so maybe identifying an account owner in a CRM like a HubSpot, Salesforce, or in the TMS, automatically sending that message to that team owner. We talked about, potentially quarantining fraudulent emails, routing to after hours teams automatically behind the scenes, so that there's not like some central dispatcher that you're waiting on to do that manually. It also allows the team lead to really enforce response times and create escalation workflows. So for instance, we have in Front, there's SLA triggers where maybe you have committed to your client that you will be responding within 30 minutes. Those SLA triggers will fire off warnings. They'll escalate to the team lead through macros and messages to make sure that there's a response automatically happen. And then the other piece that's actually really powerful, we find with Front and solving some of these challenges, is you can create consistency with your agents. So we have message templates, suggested replies that can help quickly respond. So you get that faster response time, but then you're reducing the risk of human error where they have to manually pull in some data from the TMS. Why not just populate that automatically, right? So there's a lot of capabilities that benefit the overall team. And then we also, the final thing I'll say is seeing a lot of increases in agent productivity and frankly satisfaction. I think some people are concerned about, oh, is AI going to impact my job? We actually are seeing a lot of benefits in it positively impacting. We have AI assistance features in the app that can summarize emails, especially if there's a long back and forth thread, suggest replies, and like I said, integrate with a lot of other solutions. So it all provides smoother collaboration and visibility for the team.
And when you're working with folks, especially in the 3PL space, low-hanging fruit's a big topic. Is there anything that is the platform's most used for? Is there anything that folks are naturally gravitating towards as people are trying to get more AI and helping it improve their workflow?
Yeah, I think there's actually a couple areas. I think certainly in terms of just we talked about kind of uh, suggested responses and shared inbox drafts for like kind of the most common types of messages. Quote requests, let's auto populate off of our pricing tool. Have a draft response ready to go. I think that response element is hugely appreciated by our agents. The second area is around the tagging and routing of messages. And there's a couple ways to do this in Front. We have a workflow engine that allows you to set up kind of an if this then that rules engine. If I see it's from X customer, then apply a certain tag to it. But we've now layered on AI tagging. And so our AI engine will learn from your business, learn certain types of inquiries that come in, and automatically tag and route to the right team, whether that's a finance invoicing question, whether it's a quote request, whether it's a service request. That can be done all behind the scenes and then routed to the team. So it benefits the overall team in terms of improved performance. And it also, from an individual agent perspective or dispatch perspective, they're not in the middle of it trying to figure out where to push every single message to. And then finally, that agent productivity in terms of AI assistance, understanding, best practices, what to respond to for certain types of inquiries. You mentioned when you first joined your brokerage, some of the challenges in getting up the learning curve there. That can be greatly assisted with a tool like Front, just because all that like critical intelligence that the organization has learned over time can be applied to messages to customers. And so they're not having to go, an individual agent isn't having to go and kind of think through what's my response for more of a templated type of communication.
Yeah, and looking at some of those pre-canned responses and stuff, I'm assuming that's one of the big advantages. For me personally, back when I was having to sling freight, I wish I did have a way to just say, hey, I want to quote on these lanes, figure out the averages, shoot back a quote. We got capacity. Let me know. That's where it can really come in, because otherwise I'd have to have there's a great example, 20 tabs or so. You'd have to have a bunch of tabs, and I at least used 5 to 10 where you had your quoting tool, your historical average, your TMS, because they're in browsers. A lot of them are. Let's talk a little bit about that real quick as well. Is that something where I can the agents and the capabilities now are at that point where I can just tell it to send some stuff off and it pulls everything automatically for me if it's correctly, set up?
Yeah, no, and I've seen some of your interviews in the past. You talked about kind of the evolving landscape of open architecture APIs that platforms can access, and that absolutely is something that we push for, is the kind of automated exchange of data with the other major applications that our customers are using. So in that example, updating a quote, updating a shipment status, things like that, why leave it to like an individual to go look at one thing, manually go to the third party system, input an update? We have a kind of open connector system with a lot of our partners, including TMS partners, where once there's an update in the inbox, we can, through like a macro, just the agent will select, hey, send update to TMS. That'll update the quote, update all the data in the third party system, and bring it back into Front as needed. So yeah, that back and forth is really decreasing, which is just like a benefit in terms of speed, but also greatly reduces the risk of human error and inputting the wrong data, because everyone's kind of working through hundreds of messages every hour, right? The more you can like remove that human error risk, the more operationally efficient the business is going to be.
Have you all done any use cases yet with finance, collecting, or even things like claims? Those are two of the other big pain points I noticed. you're waiting on receiving information to process a payment, which is, trying to collect from your accounts payable and receivable folks? Or is it something also the AI is able to remind me, hey, this person hasn't paid yet and I messaged them, I should shoot them a reminder, similar to a cargo claim where it's, I have sent this over, the ball is in their court, but I need to remind them that they have to pass the ball back to me. Is that something that a lot of the AI stuff is working on as well, in addition to helping, the automated with the workflow with quotes and everything?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're starting to hit on this with some of our customers in supply chain as well as outside of it. There's actually two layers to it. There's just a kind of a collaboration piece with Front, which is great. We haven't hit on this, but the fact that email comes in, you can actually mention and bring in other team members to have visibility into that. And so what we'll often see is, message comes in to a centralized inbox, and the team member might mention their finance counterpart to actually take a look at an update on kind of finance transactions. But yes, it is similar to updating a field in a TMS, for instance. We're starting to see a lot of updates and interplay with solutions like NetSuite and other finance systems to make sure the invoicing piece, the payments are done in a much more efficient manner. And so, yeah, I think it's the same paradigm. As long as there's an open API ecosystem to play with, the interchange between third-party data can be done seamlessly.
Well, it's exciting stuff. We got a little bit of time left. Let's look ahead. A lot of recent news about types of AI. Some are making it faster. There's tons of different AI helpers. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts looking ahead, especially AI and helping in the logistics space? What's on your radar?
Yeah, I'll give you a kind of a few things we're seeing, and then maybe a customer example or two. A lot of change, no surprise. And I think there's some skepticism, healthy skepticism, I would say, and fear, but the application we're seeing is becoming more and more real. It's not just kind of large language models talks about, what we can do with some of these things, but actually applying it to freight tech specifically. A couple areas of practical applications we see coming in the next year. First is automatically kind of suggesting replies to an inquiry based on your data. So it's not like a canned response where, you're interacting with the airline chatbot and it's a chatbot, but actually making it specific kind of to the data set you have, other emails, other quotes you've sent out, as well as other knowledge sources within your organization. We think that will get smarter and smarter and make for quicker reply times. The second, and I kind of hit on this in the first part, is just looking up off of multiple sources of data. So your own prior email communications, standard operating procedure docs, other knowledge sources, we think will make those replies much more personalized and more accurate. And then the biggest piece actually we see evolving is really insights into service quality. And this is, I think, kind of bleeding edge here, but really going beyond basic metrics like customer satisfaction, kind of the 1 to 5, stars you might click on, and going beyond response time, which we certainly measure today, but actually looking at the data, looking at the communications that are coming through into your inbox and proactively identifying the issues that are coming up. And in kind of the customer service or help desk world, you'll hear the term quality assurance. That's what we see getting applied more into the broker landscape is what are the issues that are coming up? How do we respond more proactively and more accurately? And, we're starting to see this with some of our customers. Uber Freight is a great example of a team. They've been using Front for years, but they're now starting to apply some of our AI features to work more efficiently. So previously they'd spend, maybe up to 10 minutes reading like one of these just threaded emails with 20 back and forth. The customer, maybe there's a different agent involved. They're trying to get up to speed. It's really painful. Now with Front's AI assistant, new person comes in, maybe it's a new shift, whatever it is. They get that AI summary right at the top, recommended next steps, again, personalized based on their customers, their data set, so that they can deliver an action much more efficiently. That's been a huge unlock for Uber in particular.
Perfect. No, I completely understand. I knew a company that used Jira tickets, and if anyone's experienced Jira tickets, it can really back up if you have a very long ticket. Even worse than an email. So Godspeed to the AI that is helping make that easier. I would have had a lot lower blood pressure back in the day. We're about on time right now, but if folks want to learn more about Front and get a hold of y'all, see what y'all are working on, what's the best way to get more info?
Yeah, first place is front.com. Pretty easy to remember. Go check it out. You can always spin up a free trial or ask to get in touch with the team. We also are pretty active on LinkedIn, the Front LinkedIn site. You can feel free to reach out to me, directly connect with me for questions. We'll be excited to chat with you. We are now over 500 3PLs in our customer base solving these communication challenges, and would love to have the conversation with others.
Perfect. Craig, thank you so much for your time. We'll be keeping an eye out for what you all are working on as well. A lot of great stuff, especially coming out throughout the year. That's going to be a wrap for this Fireside Chat. But if you're just joining us, you can catch this on demand at a later date. And there's a lot more great content coming up, so stay tuned.